Thank you for taking the time. I'm going to try and make this as short and sweet as possible. There's an incredible amount of information to go through. I believe the list of the things that are forcing people to talk past one another, and I do believe that they're actual things that are deterministically forcing people, that there's high level social pressures because of the toxicity inside of every single ideological group. We're not as good as we think we are. We're all part of the problem. That here for creating content, what we're going to do is we're going to analyze many different pieces of content. So what I have here is a 3-hour debate that where I'm making a document right here to go over all the different things that happen in that 3-hour debate. Then here's a 5-hour thing of re-litigation after the debate. None of you have to start with these two. You don't have to. I am going to make some videos on that, and that's what this is. That's what this document is for, is to create an outline and then make some short form videos about this, probably making a longer one that I break up into segments then. But what I'm asking of any one of you is to be a focus group to get different debates, formal and informal, in interpersonal relationships, wherever. It could actually be a scripted television show, any of these different things. And what we're going to do is, can we care for all of our logical fallacies and our biases, the double standard that it seems to be everyone is guilty of? I don't think any one of us has never done a double standard. I think we all have done it. And I think that we all bring logical strengths and logical weaknesses to our battle of idea social negotiations, but there's just so much in here that we're missing. Where, for example, these two logical fallacy or these two problems right here. So right here, I'm just trying to avoid to show like why I believe we're talking past one another is because we're avoiding the argument of the other person, and people think that, and this gets into this one right here, the noise logical fallacy, and this has to do with the noise variable out of game theory of axis defection or defection versus cooperation and person's dilemma. And with noise is where the person actually cooperates, but you perceive it as a defection. So in here, what's constantly happening is people are mind reading the other side, thinking that they have to be bad faith. And the premise is that you don't have my moral calculation of what I see in this, whatever the claim it is that you're making about any group, your group's another group, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It's all the fucking same. And so because you don't have my moral calculation, you don't see what I see, that you must be bad faith. So basically, it's where I'm debating with you, and you're person A and I'm person B, and you as person A, you're good faith, but you have some bad form, meaning you don't know what a bandwagon logical fallacy is. Replace bandwagon fallacy with anything else. The list of logical fallacies and biases, as well as all the different things that make us avoid the other person's argument, it's lengthy. So just replace it with anything that I'm ignorant of. So I'm ignorant of this, so I'm doing bad form and I have fault, but I don't know that I'm doing it. So I'm actually good faith. So I wasn't taught the bandwagon fallacy, so I do it. And then you interpret that as I have to be bad faith, meaning that you're assuming greatly that I am absolutely aware of a bandwagon logical fallacy. So, and you constantly see everyone in debate spaces knows on that thing. And this is one of the things I'm trying to show people is that the skill ceiling here, it is incredibly high. I have a document here that I'm working on called Avoiding the Other's Arguments Equals Manufacturing Contempt. I just refer to it as contempt rising quite often. But I think every single logical fallacy does this, but as well as there's just a long list of things that just avoids the dissent and criticism the other person is doing, complaining about. Like even that right there of, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I have it here somewhere. Whining. I don't have whining. I need to get that back in here. Is that how you spell whining? Anyways, the list of things that we use to avoid that. If you don't like it, there's the door. You're not in charge here. This is end of discussion. This isn't up for discussion. I don't owe you an explanation. I make the final call here. What I say goes because I said so. Don't second guess me. My house, my rules. Don't be hysterical. Calm down. You're being dramatic. You're too sensitive to weigh in on this. Don't be a tattletale. Silence is golden. Don't stir up trouble. This is between us. Mind your own business. Stop being so negative. You're being too sensitive. Quit complaining. The list of things that we have all used to avoid the other person's argument, and this is one of the most critical things that we're missing, because it creates resentment. So I have another document. I'm not going to go to it now, but it's basically describing the different levels of corruption. So most people only think that there's corruption in the government or corporations or mainstream media. And as they see there's more corruption in all these different things, they're more in this is being red pilled, being woke. You now see the more reality of what we actually are living in, where there is actual corruption, but there's actually the vast majority of the corruption where it's the most significant is in us. It's in you and it's in me. And it forces us to talk past one another. So here's what I define corruption as, because I do think there's problems with words, but anything in one's morality rule set, meaning their common sense judgment standard that they're using to judge themselves, the other person, the complex world around us, so science, religion, etc. So this is any rule, principle, moral, axiom, heuristic, etc., that increases resentment and contempt. So I'm going to show you how I see it. That so I was talking about the noise logical fallacy, but where I'm going to go here to agree to disagree. So agree to disagree, I believe currently right now, just real quick, and the common sense judgment standard of the average person of every ideological group, they have very low fairness, so very low value and benefit, and very high corruption, so very high harm and detriment, meaning that the vast majority of what they have in the common sense of what they're using when they go, so they have way less logical strengths and they have way more logical weaknesses that they're unaware of. And then they're trying to debate with other people. And there's just so much statistical data that shows when the average Republican and Democrat sit down, and this has been for well over 8 years now, they do not establish where they agree. They walk away from those conversations thinking the other person has to be an absolute retarded moron, because whenever it was person A's time to talk, they were never validating person B's. Yeah, I agree with you here, 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 here. And there's all the reasons why. They've focused almost all the time. And even in the best scenarios, we're like, yeah, I kind of mildly agree with that, but here's the biggest point where you're wrong, and you're really wrong here. In fact, you're not wrong in any way. And the exaggerations that are happening as we are making our claims, this is the double standard that's happening, where people just are greatly exaggerating all of their arguments as the other side is also doing that. So this is the prisoner's dilemma thing. We're caught in this eye for an eye logic loop thing. The other person's doing a lot of list of bad behaviors, poisoning the well, so I am justified in doing that as well. So here in agree to disagree, very low fair. All right, yeah, I think agree to disagree is fucking terrible. It is so bad. It is actually very low fairness. Though of the level of fairness it provides us, we need to keep it. We need it, but we need to improve it. I'm not asking for agree to disagree and all the nuance that we have around that to be just completely destroyed. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's be alpha, let's be true alpha leaders and actually debate our own fucking ideas and go, you know what? There is a problem to disagree. In fact, there's a lot of problems with it. We're going to keep everything that's good, so we're going to conserve it, and then we're going to progress all the bad. Here's the bad. There's no fucking antonym rule for how much agreement we must have on what topics of our morality rule set. And so that's where we're going to go in here and listen to Jordan Peterson.
When there's tension in a household and multiple, what would you say, systems of value operating simultaneously, there's a tremendous confusion about what should reign supreme, right? And you think, well, nothing has to reign supreme. We can all have our diverse opinions. No, you can't. Not if you're going to live together in harmony. There has to be some overarching structure that unites you. What else is a family if it's not an overarching structure that unites you? Now, within that, there can be tolerance and even appreciation for necessary individual differences, and obviously there should be, but that doesn't mean there's not a higher unity that the entire organization, let's say, is striving for in some manner, and not only striving for, but pining for, or even dying for. And I don't use those words lightly. Like, the absence of that incorporating higher structure is a felt sense of catastrophe on the part of the members of the family. They're always at each other's throats. They're interfering with each other's goals. They can't listen. They're in a chronic state of hyper-arousal because they don't know what to do ever. They're hopeless because no goals have been clearly defined, and we experience almost all our hope in relationship to defined goals. So this isn't
when I am looking at everything, I'm constantly studying many different places. Our political debate space, so this one between Pisco and Destiny here, and what Jordan Peterson is showing here, and he's talking from the view of a family, but this is true for any group of people that want to actually work together. We have to have a high level agreement on a very long list of things, especially on what is hitting below the belt, what are dirty tactics whenever we are engaging the battle of ideas. And that's what I think that these like what is it, the total 8 hours of video right here shows greatly. There's so much that is happening inside of these. That's why I'm trying to get to like some of the different ones that are happening more. Like in these ones, and I haven't completed this document yet. I'm at I just created it stage, and there's a lot more to put in here. Obviously, you can see down here, but whoops. Obviously, you can see up here for Destiny, Pisco, and myself. There's very little of the boxes for any of the stuff done out yet. I'm trying to get all the things that need to be taken into consideration as we are judging these three people. And what we're constantly doing is we're unfairly judging ourselves and the other side in the court of public and private opinion. And these unfair judgments, they are using a double standard, the contempt bias and the toxic nice bias, either grant or remove credibility. This is why people get so upset so quickly. It's because we're removing each other's voice power. When I say I don't give a fuck what you think, and then I have any amount of actual political power at whatever level, I'm telling everyone that you and your group, whoever you are, you're a fourth wave feminist, you're a men's rights activist, it doesn't matter what side you're on, it doesn't matter. I am creating resentment and contempt in you and your group as I do this action, discrediting your group greatly, saying no one should ever listen to you guys. No one should, there's nothing good in your arguments. It's absolute all dog shit. It's all fucking bad. I can go right to video games, uninstall a video game. You're trashed at a video game. We are absolutely lying. Though there's some truth, a person trashed at a video game, there's some kernel of truth there. A person's really bad at a video game. They're making high rates of mistakes. But trash, very specifically, is worthless. And this is one of the things that I found. This is why I call this thing the contempt bias. Is contempt is someone or something that is beneath consideration, worthless, or deserving scorn. So when we have contempt for somebody else, we have contempt for their ideas, we will not be intellectually curious to try and learn from them. And our society can only function if we have high levels. This is what I'm trying to show here, is this great faith and great form, battle of ideas, highly cooperative, battle of idea, social negotiations is the only fucking way you can ever have a democratic republic. You want a democratic republic? You want any level of democracy? You don't want to go back to any form of dictatorship, tyrannical government? You don't want that? You don't want any form of that? You want a democratic republic? If you're not measuring high levels of action cooperation in your debate space, you're fucked. No one's learning where they're wrong, and the worst ideas are continually rising to the top in all groups. This is why when you go back to any conversation on any of the scientific things during COVID, everyone was talking past one another. The most extreme versions were constantly being promoted, conflated to all the sides. So too many people, some people on the left were saying wear 2 masks. Even Dr. Fauci was saying that. And then everyone on the right is thinking everyone on the left thinks this really bad idea. Then people on the right, there was a lot of different people saying masks don't do anything. We shouldn't wear them at all. And then high level conflation to the whole group of conservatives. This is and that's why I have up here for one of the avoiding the argument things, the conflation fallacy, where people X have a bad idea and they're all the same. And they all had that same bad idea. And this gets into a lot of different complex things. It was happening through our history, like the FCC federal doctrine being removed, why even got removed. I'm going to make a video on that. Trying to figure out how to, go through all this different stuff. I need help. We need to work together to figure out these problems because we can. So let me finish this agree to disagree thing. All right. So there's no antonym. There's no rule that is the opposite of agree to disagree. Agree to disagree is saying, like, what level of disagreement can you have? And it's okay. It's saying that it's okay. So on the disagreement side, it's okay to disagree. We can disagree, and bygones be bygones. All these different notions of nuance of like, hey, we're trying to prevent a heated struggle session where people are yelling and screaming at one another. So we're doing a good thing here. So we see value in the action. And so I agree with that, but it's very low value. That's why I have right here, very low value, very low fairness, benefit. So here's a thought experiment to show what I believe easily shows that just on this one thing, it's nowhere near as simple as what the average person has in their common sense judgment standard of even when they implore or disagree, like change it to believe all women. People use quite often the rules that they have when they see a woman, back when this height of the Me Too movement, when a woman does sexual allegations, sexual accusations against a man, it's 100% true. To whatever degree any of those women ever did that, there's value to the thing. So there's value in believe all women, but the harm is so fucking high because you're just giving all it to one side. They can make up whatever lies that they want to, lies of fabrication, exaggeration, omission, and constantly making their arguments way better than they are. And this causes high levels of resentment and contentment because you've given one group over another. We take everything that seriously what you say, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to show here about be taken seriously. So one of the things that I started out with first to create this document was this thing of like the seat, or having a seat at the table. That's what this section down here is supposed to show. Like up here is like showing the seat at the table and some of the problems with it. But then down here, how this works. So over here on the left, we have meritocratically earned a seat at the table. So the subtext here is ideological groups' ideas have been taken seriously. Should be taken seriously. So basically, if I say, hey, if I'm saying, hey, Jordan Peterson's this really great guy, like look at this stuff. I have 11 followers, but of those 11 followers, I have more than 0. So of my 11 followers, if they believe me at face value, which a lot of people do work that way, and the whole audience capture thing is a really complicated topic that's really fun to talk about. But if they just believe me at face value and I say, hey, he's he's a reputable authority figure, he's qualified, and with these credentials, whatever he's saying is absolutely true. So like I heard I'm trying to remember that guy's name, but he's referring to like Andrew Tate, and everything Andrew Tate is 100% true, stuff like that when we talk about like that. Anyways, so basically the whole dichotomy here between these two sides is, on this side, there are actions and labels we use to establish a person with different levels of credibility. And then on this side, we believe we're meritocratically earning a removal of a seat, meaning that we believe we're using a meritocratic judgment standard using epistemological judgment standard to go, yeah, we have like these things to show this person is an anti-vaxxer. This person is a pseudoscientist. They are a libtard. They're a fucking liberal with using an insulting tone. They are a grifter. So you have all of your different things in your common sense to prove that, to go, this is what they said, these are the actions, all these different ways that you're judging the court of public opinion, who they are. And every time you're doing that, so if David Pakman with his followers and whoever hears that and he says that about whoever is on the right, they're a grifter, like he says that he did the same thing with Tulsi Gabbard when she left. Oh, the mask is off. She was always a grifter. She was never one unto us. This is the not true Scotsman fallacy. So basically, there's all these different actions and labels we use on the other side. They shouldn't be, to where the whole ideological group shouldn't be taken seriously. So conservatives, MAGA, MAHA, whatever group it is on the right, or the left, they should not be taken seriously. These are poison the well actions, anyways, and it builds resentment and contempt. As we do this, but we're not, the reason this is red is because we're not doing it well at all. We're not fucking doing it well. I'm not saying that we don't necessarily need to be doing this. I do think we need to, but I think the standard by which we do that is abysmally low, and it just gets worse every day. Because one of the problems as we're debating with one another, we're mocking. This is why I have here one of the ones I want to get into. I thought I put mockery near the top. There's noise. I think it's in a different section. Yeah, I've got mockery here. The lie of exaggeration. Like, here's another thing that I think that we're just getting insanely wrong. And then I'll just go over these things real quick, and then I'll wrap up this video and try and make it as short as possible. Basically, we have, so mockery, the reason mockery is so bad. So basically, I have a whole other diagram. I'm not going to pull it up, but it's the overall premise is mockery is not just a joke, but banter is. That's the shortest way of being able to, like, the thesis for the statement. Basically, banter is just a joke, and I'll show that real quick. Basically, the overall premise is that mockery, the person giving the mockery believes the lie of exaggeration in the joke. So I believe all jokes are an exaggeration. They're not a lie of exaggeration. They only are a lie of exaggeration if it's mockery. If it's banter and there's no contempt. So, and I'll illustrate this very brief. So if you and I are friends, and let's say you and I both know objectively, we measured it. We've even had conversations about that where we established my level of intellectual laziness is a 4 out of 10. And it isn't all the time, but at its worst, here, and here, it's been a 4 out of 10. So when you make a joke using banter and you take it to a 10 out of 10 to show my laziness is a 10 out of 10, and you say it, even if it's like subtle sarcasm, I laugh and you laugh. And the reason I can laugh with that is because I know that you see me how I see me. That the bad behavior, I know you see it as the reality is, I know you see it as a 4 out of 10. I know you don't see it as a 10 out of 10. Now with mockery, when a person has contempt for somebody else, contempt is the fuel source, or two fuel sources, contempt or care. So if a person has contempt for somebody else, they still have levels of care. Sometimes it depends on the level of contempt, but let's say you have 30% level of contempt for you. So you're 4 out of 10, I make it a 7 out of 10. And this isn't hard numbers. I'm just trying to show that, like, I have some contempt for you, so I'm going to exaggerate how bad you are in my mind. So my reality isn't a 4 out of 10, it's a 7 out of 10. So when I take it to a 10 out of 10, you see it as a 4 out of 10, I see it as a 7 out of 10. Your actual laziness, the objective reality that I see, that you see, yours is a 4, mine's a 7. I see that your laziness is a 7. I know I switched it between you and me, but you get the point here. It doesn't matter. It goes either way. When I go to joke to a 10 out of 10, sure, there's exaggeration there in the joke, and I can say, oh, it's just a joke, but I believe a good portion of the lie. That's why it's harmful, and that's why you're so sensitive, and that's why you can't laugh. And when we look at here, we're poisoning the well in our debate space, and you say something that I think is just, there's no way that could be true. And I mock it. And I've mocked you so many other times. And so many other times I've given you my judgment of your character, and you constantly think I'm making you seem worse than you are. On so many different ways that we can judge somebody. So I have a list here of like different attributes, ranges of good or bad, emotional intelligence, patience, intentions, goals, behaviors, actions, praise, criticism, complaints, creativity, just, all these different things. So there's a longer list. This is just some of them. Every time I've given you my feedback on who you are, you see yourself way differently than what I'm giving you. So you constantly think I'm making you seem worse than you are. And so there's this behavior economy variable thing of this accumulation of effect in our relationship and I think this is what's happening between Pisco and Destiny, that when they're constantly giving some of their judgments of each other, and I have so many other examples, like when Connor and Pisco are going at each other in that one and another one, wild. They're doing the same thing. They're constantly exaggerating in the court of public opinion. They are exaggerating each other. In fact, there's another one where Destiny just did a 3 versus 3 debate, whether or not Trump is a threat to democracy. And then in the litigation the next day, Destiny's trying to get Connor to admit that not so Justice Warrior Sean lied specifically about Alan Bragg, and I agree, he did lie, and it was really bad. But in that same one, Destiny very specifically lies about Connor. He exaggerates how many times Connor has done a very particular thing in that conversation. He says the number is much higher than it is. And this is the thing that I'm constantly seeing everywhere as people are talking. Everyone, this is that double standard. Everyone is using what I call a contempt bias to judge the other people, to make them seem worse than they are. I don't know if I want to pull that up right now. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've got it. Oh, I have it. It's right here. So, okay. Really, really quick right here. Between two people, person A or group A, they have the range of good attributes and the range of bad attributes. And then the other side, person B. So this is Israel versus Palestine. This is the left versus the right. This is Democrats versus Republicans. And so there's 4 sides total of judgment. But there's a thing I call the metaphorical Mexican standoff, and the contempt bias, the double standard, which is the contempt bias and toxic nice bias, are the things that do this. So you can see right here, I call it, here, I'll just take that out to make it uniform. Oh, wait, I can't edit this? Oh. In the wrong account, that's why. So I'll take out the destructive. So it's just a contempt bias. And then this one is, the reason I put the word toxic in front is because there actually is a really good way to being nice. It's just, in fact, I'm trying to make the claim here that the common sense of actually how to be nice hasn't existed yet. It's never been good enough. So more often we're doing a toxic nice bias when we're giving judgments. So we're making somebody, the contempt bias is making somebody seem worse than they are. A toxic nice bias is making somebody seem better than they are. Diagram I have for that. Pause? I thought I could pause. So I don't see a pause button. Interesting. Damn it, no, it's not this one. Is it? No, it's not this one. Fuck. Come on, come on, come on. And no, I just. Damn it. All right. Anyways, it's basically just showing the 2 main things of, and I simplified it to make it seem easier, but basically there's the contempt bias to judge people's outgroup to make them look worse than they are in the core Republican private opinion. And then the toxic nice bias make seem better than they are. The way that is done though is, and this is why I made like this better right here. This is not how I want to word it anymore. But basically all the range of a person, so I'll go back to here to show it. So all the range of the person's good, you downplay it. So if you have a contempt bias against the side, the way that you make them seem worse is all of their good is downplayed. And that's why we even have like these crazy amounts of this one, yeah. So right here is, yeah, I won't edit it. But basically, this is, everyone's talking about Trump derangement syndrome, Hassan derangement syndrome. So the contempt bias names that we're constantly seeing are talking shit, gaslighting, Trump derangement syndrome, hate speech, attacking, and then toxic nice bias ones are fluff piece, sugarcoating, copium, coping, simping, carrying water for, defending. And that's because of the double standard. And that's another diagram I have to make for another thing. But anyways, so what I want to do is together as a focus group, go through many different pieces of content to go, okay, what do we all see here? What is the full, so I have up here, what is the full lit, what is the main goal is to understand all of the reasons that a person is choosing or they are forced, deterministically forced to talk past one another. I think that the vast majority of it, people aren't just free will choosing. And that's even one of the things that gets into the way. If you don't think there's any, you don't believe in determinism at all, you think every single action the other person does, they are just freely choosing to be an asshole to you as they mock your ideas. But again, that eye for an eye logic loop that we're stuck in, that's what this metaphorical Mexican standoff, every time I'm only engaging in your bad behaviors and my good, and I won't talk about the other two sides. And then the same thing over here. So yeah, again, just to briefly describe this, because I don't think I did a good job of it before, the MMS is that whoever it is over here, so I'll make this Destiny, and there was a one where Gorka debated Destiny, and this was true for that whole debate. Destiny only wanted to engage in the good. So the lines here are what they want to actually engage in. If they wanted to engage in all four of the sides of judgment, so remember, there's four total sides between two people or two groups of people. There's four total sides. And here, both people only want to engage in two of the four sides. So this would be like Destiny only wants to talk about the good attributes of Destiny and Biden, and then he also only wants to talk about the range of the bad of Gorka and Trump. Gorka only wants to talk about the good of, or sorry, the bad of Destiny and Biden, and then the good of Trump and Gorka. And this is just the thing. As I do that to you, you do that to me. I can just show this every single time. It happens so fast. It happened in so many conversations, in interpersonal relationships, in reality TV shows. There's actually some that are really fucking good, that are just treasure troves of human behavior analysis. There's so much there. So one of the points that Destiny is making in this thing, and why I have a bunch of these things loaded that we're not going to watch, but is this right here is a graph from a net favorability thing from this Wall Street Journal. Democrats get the lowest ratings from voters in 35 years. Here's the picture from that poll. You can see, look at this drop right here, right after 2025. Right after Trump is in office now. And there's so many to talk about here, but this court of public opinion thing, where Destiny's main argument for that, why he wants to distance himself from leftists, from anyone that's a socialist or what was it, ML, Marxist Leninist, is all they're doing is talking shit about all the Democrats. So Destiny's making this point where everyone in the media sphere, everyone on all podcasts and everywhere, so everyone on the right and everyone on the left are just talking shit about Democrats. And I think that's what this net favorability shows. When everyone's talking bad about a group, the favorability of that group will decrease. I feel like this is a very simple behavior economy variable that is very true, but I want to go through it. I want to know wherever you just agree and disagree. Again, all of this, constructive praising and constructive criticism, we need to be able to call balls and strikes about whoever it is that's talking. Absolutely, for me. So, okay. And then, okay, so let's get to this.
Just most of the time, if your life is blowing up, it's going to be a miscommunication problem with someone that you actually wanted to get along with. And it just, holy crap, like I'm at that age, I don't know, 30 is like divorce o'clock, but everyone around me, there's long-term relationships or marriages are just blowing up right now, and watching it in reality and how it affects the world and people's lives, oh my gosh, like destroys them. It leads to drugs and addiction, people missing work or even losing their jobs entirely because they're just like psychologically checked out, nowhere to live, like financially destroys the family, destroys children psychologically. Like a marriage falling apart is civilization destroying stuff. Really, really bad.
I think she's really fucking right here. And the data for so many different things, from the substance abuse, opioid crisis, the loneliness crisis, the incel rates. One of the ones that Jonathan Haidt is bringing up in the anxious generation is that people constantly talk about like how we live in the best time ever. And there are some arguments definitely for that argument that are portions of truth that are really, really true. However, there is a lot of things that are canary in the coal mine variables. And one of the ones he brings up is that teenage suicide rate among girls is just incredible. It is continuously getting worse. And I think it is because, again, about this whole double standard thing, this contempt bias, and how we're judging each other. Teachers talk about how when they come home or they have school on Monday, they have to go through and relitigate everything that was happening over the weekend, as everyone at school was talking shit about each other on their social media platforms. And when everyone hates you, so right now everyone hates the Democratic Party. Just think about everyone hating that level of hate on a teenage person. And I do think that there is a flaw in my argument that I'm presenting here. There's definitely differences. The vast majority of what is being said about a whole party, a Democratic Party, there's definitely way more being said about that group of people from groups of people. The magnitude level scale is much more significant, but it's still at its core, it's the same thing. You still have your peer group saying you're a piece of shit, uninstall. You're fucking worth nothing. No one likes you. No one wants to be around you. When I'm seeing these blame game war struggle sessions happening inside the interpersonal relationships, people are tearing each other apart. I have been in them so many times in my life. This is one of the reasons I love that P.F. Chung, he said he grew up and his house was just Ritter, I'm trying to remember how he phrased it, but basically he just grew up in a very high struggle session, conflict ridden household growing up. And this is because everyone needs to be able to resolve their ideological desire conflict, but the average person is not given the long list of logical weaknesses they have to be able to care for to not avoid the argument of the person that they're arguing with. I think the vast majority of the time, this is not true as of today. And this is probably not true as of the last like 3 years. But if we can go back like 10 years ago, I truly believe the vast majority of the conversations happening inside of our interpersonal relationships, more of it was good faith, good form. But over time, what happens in those relationships, the good faith, we're actually manufacturing contempt. So the good faith, the care is decreasing and the contempt is increasing because we're not resolving our ideological what's right and what's wrong of what value system should reign supreme in our own household. Should we all be vegan? Should we all be carnivore? What are we doing under should we vote for Trump? Should we vote like the list of things that the average husband and wife have to argue over these days? It is extremely long. Even just some of the most simple, basic kitchen table things of the prices of groceries, or this is why, okay, so here, and we're not going to watch this, I'm just showing it. Where is it? Here. The Gottman Institute. They've studied over 20,000 relationships. And I actually think a lot of their ideas are also very wrong and need to be progressed. In fact, I don't like this title. Even healthy couples fight? No, it should be very specifically, to be a very, very healthy couple, you need to fight, motherfucker. It needs to go hard. And I'm not exaggerating, even a little bit. Arguing is what we are supposed to be doing. Arguing has nothing inherently bad in the simple definition of arguing, which is an attempt at just trying to convince somebody of your view. We need to do that. It is essential. I need to see what you see, and you need to see what I see and have overwhelming agreement there for the vast majority of things. It doesn't mean we need 100% agreement on 100% of topics, but we also can't, but where is this line? We can't be 0% agreement on 0% of topics. So between these two extremes, between 100% and 100% and a and 0, where's this fucking line on a group actually working with one another? I think it's pretty fucking high. I think it's actually really, really high. And I'll show you this on just one thing of like thought experiments. I used to constantly have this. I was attending this Friday night symposium, and there was a person in this group who hates thought experiments. They believe all thought experiments are only mental masturbation. So in her cost-benefit analysis of value versus harm, benefit versus detriment, it is 0% benefit and high-level detriment. They're worthless, and it's just you trying to make yourself appear better, holier than thou bias. You're better than everyone else. Great. Good job, Bob. Doing a thought experiment. That's what they think all thought experiments are for. And there are people that do that. I do think that they are correct to some degree. There's actually probably a good amount, a really high level of pattern recognition of seeing that happen. But just because this is even a logic fallacy in itself, I need to go get it later. I have it somewhere else. I have the avoiding argument document, and it's here somewhere. It's the I'm not sure where I put it. Yeah, I fucking don't remember which one it was. But basically, it's like if the FDA is corrupt right now, let's just say the FDA is corrupted at that experiment. It's 100% corrupt. The fallacy is basically, oh, we just remove the FDA. We don't need anything like that at all. Or let's say our government, our American Constitution is really corrupt. It's really low fairness, anti-corruption. We just destroy the whole thing. So this is a baby with the bathwater fallacy, but it's more than that. It's it was thinking maybe not, but it is doing a baby with the bathwater logical fallacy. The whole thing is bad. So if somebody is not knowing how good thought experiments are, so it's like, if that person has that view, and I've talked to other people who are like, well, no, we don't need to know logical fallacies, and no, they're not getting into conversations. If thought experiments are crucial to highly effective battle of idea social negotiations, let's just say they're 30% of the conversation of the, so, like in algebra, PEMDAS, the order of operations, you have to do all of these different things and in order. That thought experiments is one of the many different things that we're supposed to do as intellectual steps of these battle of idea processes. So if it's good and we really fucking need it, we shouldn't go, no, thought experiments are only bad. We should never, ever do them, because I see this rate of people misusing the tool. Well, people can use fire to go and burn down their neighbor's house that they fucking hate and they want them dead. Or you can use fire to cook your food or smelt tools. Any tool can be used for harm or good. It's true for everything as simple as fire and as complicated as nuclear fission. You can create the atom bomb, or you can create nuclear power plants. Anyways, so on the thought experiment thing, can her and I work together? No, we can't. She has to actually be argued in the battle of ideas to logically be reasoned out of that position to see that she's right to some degree. She has some portion of truth that needs to be validated, that people are doing this thing. But this thing is extremely crucial, and we all need to use it, and we need to wield it better. We need to use the good thing and use the good tool to do good things with it. So just on one thing, two people cannot work together. And there's over 100 logical fallacies. There's like 20-something different biases. This is the skill ceiling here to do this thing has never been good enough. I haven't studied every single academic person. And I have seen only maybe a handful of them, like Carl Benjamin, such that have gone to Ivy League schools, have like done their dissertations in liberalism, etc. People that are Ben Shapiro, people that are educated specifically in debate. And I've seen these people do so I've seen Ben Shapiro and I've seen Carl Benjamin do high level intellectual sin. In the conversation that they're having with their audience, or if the people they're even immediately talking to, they're doing a call to not call to authority logical fallacy like somebody outside the room, but their own authority that they themselves are 100% right. It's irrefutable, and no one should question that. That is high level intellectual sin, high level intellectual weakness, logical weakness. It's fucking, it's so bad. And what I'm trying to show is that we're all bad teammates because we're all assuming this year zero problem that Douglas Murray talks about, that everyone's a good person. I know how to be a good person. You know how to be a good person. We know how to have a conversation, to arrive at truth. We didn't know how to do all of these things, and we knew how to do it for decades. So there's nothing here we need to learn. I'm not missing anything. Well, the year zero problem is basically like we're always like right now, everything's just really great and amazing. Our scientists, our government, just high level trust in everything and everyone. But the thing we're constantly seeing is that trust is plummeting. And we can see that here, like why adult children go non-contact according to science, why so many adult children are going no contact, how parents react to no contact. Look at the levels of views on these things. That was only 5K, but this is 620. This is 316. There's this one right here for Mr. Odom. I don't know how to say his name. 870,000, 506. Like, our society is falling apart. Our groups are more. We have more antisocial rules. And here's one of them. Here's one of them. They're so significant. Everyone's told to think for themselves. And then so many people are adopting reasons to not care what anyone else thinks. They're rated that I've seen like Joe Rogan and so many people, Tim Pool, say, yeah, I don't care what anyone thinks. I don't care what they think. They champion people. They champion behavior where people are showing this thing where and there is value to it, where they don't care what another group thinks, so they act this way or they say this thing. And there is value in that because we have thought control devices in our society, and they're breaking through that. And they're seeing that they're not caring what the other people think to adhere to the man, what was that term that my friend was using? Like where people are like societally forced and coerced to do the thing. I can't remember that term right now. There was one. I really love that conversation with him. I wish him and I were still friends. But basically, these thought control devices force people to not say certain things that are taboo, like PC culture movement, where overwhelmingly white people just are not allowed to criticize any people of color at all for decades. But anyways, so when people start to break through that, they champion the person not caring what they think. So there's value to the action, but there's so much incredible harm to it. There's an insane amount of harm to it. I have this thing. So right here, if you look at the screen, where there's basically a level of you're measuring things, the level of benefit and value and good and detriment, harm, bad. So when they're adopting these rules of like, don't care what anyone else thinks, so many people are looking at their rule as it's like this. You see it so right, just do the right thing. They think that me not caring about anybody else or not caring what anyone else thinks, it's this really, really, really good value. If they see any harm at all, it's very low. So for them, it's always a good decision. They're never going to engage in anyone's criticism of their rule being bad. And this is the wall that I've hit with so many people that I've tried to work with before. Because as soon as you get to that, if you try to get them to see whether or not their rule that they're using to operate in their interpersonal relationships and all of their negotiations, I'm not caring what people think, but there's a long list of these things. Don't show mercy, never apologize. I've debated with Christians on that. Like they're literally, I remember in the Timcast Discord server, I remember when somebody had just come in, there was like maybe 10 of us in the channel, and somebody just came in and they, at some point, they finally get to speak. I'm not saying they're being rude and stuff like that, but at some point they said they needed some advice on a personal thing. And then one of the moderators in there specifically tells the person, So he's giving somebody advice on an interpersonal relationship conflict on whether or not he's the asshole and he should apologize. He didn't give any this guy didn't give any nuance to the context of the situation of whether or not he should apologize. He says, bro, you're never supposed to apologize. And then he said, never, never, never. In an interpersonal relationship, from a place of authority, a thought leader authority, meaning he's to some degree, even though this person isn't like very well known at all. I mean, this is like a F level lower. That's not a dig at all. I'm F level. No one fucking knows who I am. No one knows who this guy is outside of that circle for the most part. But still, to some degree, he has an authority. He is a mod in there. He hosts things. He's able to band people. So in that small group, he still is a metaphorical Catholic priest to that person. So he's getting advice on what to do. And this would be like, just imagine that, change it to a fourth wave feminist Discord server. And the person was talking about whatever it is. And then the person says, well, you're supposed to believe all women. Well, why wouldn't you? Just do that. It's that simple, man. Like, everyone's giving their prescriptions, but no one's debating their own ideas. But there's just so many things that are extremely antisocial rules that are just making everyone more increasingly bad teammates. But the biggest one, the largest one, that is this game theory thing of an act of defection towards somebody, is when you tell them any amount of the judgments of who they are, the reason their disagreement is treason to people is because they've had such a rate of people disagreeing with them, not being able to use their words at all. They have to use other forms of warfare. They have to yell and scream at each other. That's why there are these incredible blame game war struggle sessions. But usually there's emotional badgering, emotional manipulation, there's gaslighting, there's cancel culture, all of these other things that even cause higher levels of resentment and contempt. If I use financial warfare, so this is about, like, the overall premise is like, how is the group making decisions? How are they winning? What form of warfare are they using to win? Are they using physical violence, threats of physical violence? Are they using emotional warfare, cancel culture, weaponized empathy for, victimhood status? The list here, it's just so long. There's so many different things that we all use. There's different forms of warfare, financial warfare, tariffs. Tariffs are a thing that you can use that any nation can use in the negotiations between just a larger group of people. That's all it fucking is. It's the same shit, though. It's what form of warfare we're using to get what we want. We want Korea to not have nuclear weapons anymore. Okay, we'll put sanctions. We'll do this. We'll use whatever financial warfare we can, whatever threats of military physical violence that we can. We'll do whatever we can in all these other forms of warfare, because we're not going to be able to convince them out of their logic. We can't use our words. We have to use some of the form of warfare. And this is one of the things that, like, my brother, like, really, I feel like he hates me right now. We rekindled recently, and now we're not talking. We didn't have any, like, big blow up, but I think he's bothered by a few of my claims. And one of them that I made to him is that his wife, that he's still married to, but now they're in the process of trying to get a divorce, that all these things he's complaining to me about how much emotional manipulation she uses to try and get what she wants. People have to, these warfare escalation principles, people have to use, because people cannot use their words, because his wife can't use her words to convince him of anything that she wants different. So the ideological conflict she has with my brother and the desired conflict she has with my brother, the things that she wants, they're not using their words to resolve any of that. So therefore, she has to use an emotional manipulation. She has to gaslight. She has to say that he's a narcissist, and then he concedes, and he's the bad person, and she wins, and she gets what she wants. But this is this constant thing where people are saying, "Oh, okay, well, this isn't fair for me." I'm not winning here. Every time this is actually one of the reasons I do not hate narcissists. I do not fucking hate them at all. I do not even a little bit. I have so much level of love and empathy for them. I don't think they should do the behaviors they do, but this is what happens. They have to build a wall of narcissism because every single fucking time they admit their bad behaviors to the other person, that because they can't use their words, and I can show that the vast majority of interpersonal relationships are not using their words. It's all these other things that are happening. So whenever my brother admits he's a narcissist or admits he did any bad behavior, admits, yeah, I did this thing that was bad, I lied here, or I did whatever it is, there's this logical fallacy of like, you give them an inch, they make it a mile. So I've seen this so many times happening in debate, in formal debates. I saw this happen between Andrew Wilson and Dave Smith. And I need to go rewatch that to get the specific thing, but we can find this so many places where there's, on a complex topic, there's this overarching claim. And then you have all of your different subclaims and different facts and reasoning, logical points of reasoning that support the overall claim. And so in the debate, you're getting down into these different smaller points that support bigger points and then the overarching point. So basically there's like 3 or 4 layers here, and the overarching point at the top. You're down in here and you're trying to, and then you concede a point that like you were wrong, or you even at least say you agree with them. And then so you're giving them an inch, and then they make it a mile. They go straight to, well, my overarching claim is true. You believe this whole thing. The debate's done. I fucking win. It's over. So as soon as the debate is this emotional badgering we're doing of all the attributes of the other person that are wrong, and that's the point of the contention, because we're in the MMS, remember, where both sides are avoiding admitting any of their bad behavior. And so sometimes we get into it and we are admitting some of it. Whenever that's happened in the past, you give them an inch, they make it a mile, and you don't win. Whatever ideological conflict you had, whatever conflict you had, you lose. Game theory, prisoner's dilemma, active defection thing constantly happening, active defection. You're not getting what you want. You're not getting what you want on what you see as right and wrong for the decisions that are being made for your group, for your kids. You're constantly, so you either have to give up caring about whatever that is, whatever topic you greatly care about. These are your irons in the fire. So the person has to either greatly give up about the thing they care about. So if a person really loves democracy and really cares about anyone ever debating any amount of democracy, or whatever Trump is doing, or whatever Biden did that they think is undemocratic, and they really care about democracy, anytime they try and debate anybody on this topic, if the other person's, all people are all avoiding their arguments with so many different logical fallacies, so many different biases, so many different things that they're not taught, that person's just going to get enraged over and over and over and over again. So they see using my words does nothing. I should only mock and ridicule everyone else because that's what everyone else is doing. And all this does, even these things themselves are just continually warfare escalation principles, because as the contempt just gets worse and worse and worse, we can at least go to this one for that. So the level of contempt, like, it goes up and up and up and up. You can see it in a moment between two people rise. The level of contempt didn't start out so bad. Like, even the title of this running right here, it gets heated right from the start. And then later on, Pisco talks about how why his reasoning, why he was already so upset and heated in that debate. We get into that the next day, and guess what it is? He's being misjudged. He feels he's being unfairly judged by another content creator's audience. So in the court of public opinion, his image is being stated that he's way worse than he is, that he's even not a liberal anymore, when he has a podcast about being a liberal, and I think he's a live and learn. Anyways, so there's just so much to go through. I want to figure out how we can do these things, have focus groups on so many different pieces of content and such. I felt I wanted to go to at least maybe one more thing, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's good. Um, I mean, here's our here's our Congress voting patterns. Here it is, showing it bigger. And in 1987 is when the FCC Fairness Doctrine was removed. This is why I'm constantly using the word fair. And I'll leave you with this. I want you to think about all the different conversations you've heard, whether it's in debates, relitigation of debates, formal, informal, inside of your household, discussions at work. How many times are you hearing the word fair in the conversation? Oh, yeah, that's a fair point. Oh, yeah, that's fair. Okay. I'm hearing it all the time, constantly. This is all about the level of our actions in the court of public opinion, our ability to do battle of ideas, our logical strengths and weaknesses, how fair or corrupt our standard is. And we're not having that conversation. We're not figuring that out. And it's just forcing us to talk past one another and to think that the person across from us absolutely hates us. And the more that we tell them that they are a person that hates us, even if they started out good faith, at some point, we never get off that point, when we never think anything other than that, we're constantly seeing them as the enemy, treating them as the enemy, mocking all of their ideas, insulting everything they say. At some point, they will turn into your enemy, even if they didn't start out that. So people go from good faith, bad form, to bad faith, bad form. And I believe that when we get enough people on this, we're going to be able to use so many different things, AI and stuff, to get this data showing these things happening in relationships, happening in the moment. By actually tone policing, listening to the tone of people, facial expressions, micro expressions. So much is being said in a 10-minute conversation between two people where we have their voice and we also have their body language, their facial expressions, their micro expressions. There's an incredible amount of data within 10 minutes. There's an insane amount just in 10 minutes. There is easily 50 things happening on both sides for both people. It's inordinately complicated. It isn't just all this nurture stuff of what we're taught or what we're ignorant of. There's nature side stuff too that I've got into. I'll just briefly list. Lack of sleep affects everyone's ability to discuss things, especially how it degrades our cognitive performance, our memory, our long-term, short-term memory, our ability to have neuroplasticity, to learn things and to keep that in check. It's just so complicated. There's so much. I mean, how diseased we are right now. We are the most mentally ill, the most physically ill, the most emotionally ill people and the United States of history's past. All the data shows that. I want to go through all of that, and I'm not asking any of the thing that I say, just take it all at face value. I want to go through every single claim I make. Thanks for listening.